But you made the right choice. We're going to have some fun this morning. Before we go any further, have you had our coffee?
Yeah, woo!
Okay, that's important. If you haven't, I've already seen some people straight to the booze, and that's what I'm talking about. You're on vacation, right? That's what it's all about. Well, for those of you that have never been here before, it's a Captain's Corner, and this is a great way for you to learn a little bit about this beautiful billion-dollar ship, and we're going to turn it over to you in a little bit for you to ask some questions of the one and only master of the vessel. So without any further ado, here he is. Please welcome Captain Sindra!
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you. How are you all this morning? Great. Did you all get Mitch's fun fact this morning?
Yeah.
You got that? What was it again, Mitch?
Hot water freezes quicker than cold water.
There you go, there you see.
We do that in Canada.
Intelligence is not measured in inches, so that is We're off to a tough start this morning.
I'm little captain for what, like, I don't know, almost 15 years. So he always tries to come up with a new short joke because I gave him a hard time last contract because he was just recycling short jokes. So now he's been working on his vacation. That was a good one.
All right. Very good morning, everyone. How are you all? Glad to hear that, and thank you for coming here. It's great to see so many finding the time. It's very hard to compete with the weather we have up on deck there, so I appreciate that you take time out of your busy morning schedule to come to the Captain's Corner. So, I have a little presentation, a video here I'm going to show to you. First part is what you see around the ship, what the Odyssey is all about as a guest product, and then we're going to move over to back of the house. Before the pandemic, we used to have the all-access tours, taking tours around the ship, showing the bridge, the galleys, the engine control room, etc. Hopefully we will be back to that soon, but in the meantime, I have the pleasure of showing you what is happening behind the scenes of the Odyssey of the Seas. So with that, take it away. Anthony, please.
I name this ship Odyssey of the Seas. May God bless her and all who sail on her.
Was a tour of the guest area of the ship, and we're going to continue with the behind the scenes tour. We start up on the navigational bridge. This is the layout, what it looks like, with what's called a cockpit in the front, bridge wings on the sides, and the safety command center in the back. We have very fancy navigational equipment, but still required and need to keep the guy with the binoculars doing lookout whenever we are at sea. This guy is manning the wheel. When we go into ports, we take off all automation, and it's all manual, including hand steering. View of some of the equipment, the electronic chart right there, and some of the panels that we have. A view from the center cockpit. This is a departure from Aruba, with the manning that we have when we are in port transit. Some of the equipment that we have up there, I don't know what it all is, ladies and gentlemen, but I can assure you it's all needed, it's all good. Including our infrared camera to see at night if we need that. We also have a radio station in case satellites don't work. Our bridge officers are also licensed radio officers, so we can communicate with the rest of the world if the satellites don't work. A view of our safety command center, where we meet if we have an onboard emergency. It is our situation room. And then we'll look a little bit at how the ship works with the machinery, propulsion, etc. This is one of our sister ships, the Freedom class. But it's a good animation, so I thought we could explain by using this. Conventional ships have an engine room, shaft, propeller, but since 1999 our ships have been delivered with ASIPod units. We have a power plant, switchboard room, cables going back to our ASIPod propulsion motors. They are electric, ladies and gentlemen. And they can turn 360 degrees. Each of them gives us for maneuvering about 27,000 horsepower on each of them. So that's a lot for maneuvering. So all the power that we have to push us ahead now up the Florida Strait, we can turn them around, move the ship sideways, backwards, whatever direction we want. In the front, we have 4 bow thrusters to move the bow sideways when we do docking and undocking. Close to 20,000 horsepower altogether on the bow. When we are at sea, we don't use those. The steering is done by the ASIPod propellers. And when we apply power in both ends, we can spin around the dime, make donuts, whatever we like, ladies and gentlemen. Very maneuverable ships in the Royal Caribbean. We also need on board our ships stabilizers. They've been around since the 70s on passenger ships. It's a fin that is extended from a recess in the hull. It has a flap on the back controlled by a gyroscope measuring the motion of the ship and prevents rolling. So it's nice and comfortable for all of you. This is a view of the bridge team. It's about 10 nationalities, male and female, all ages. We are all about inclusion and diversion in Royal Caribbean International. Down in the engine control room, we have second engineer Eva. She is monitoring all the technical equipment there, always a second engineer on duty in the engine control room, as well as a third engineer that is on scene, so to speak, in the engine room. Chief engineer wanted us to include this. He says, you know, I have propulsion control down here. I can take control if I want to. And I was like, do you really think anybody wants you to? But it is part of our redundancy. Another view of our engine control room. It is today on a modern ship, a lot of big screens and a lot of automation, of course. We take a trip down to the engine room. I mentioned that we have on our ships, we call it also a power plant, because our diesel engines provide power not only to propulsion, but also to create electricity. We have generators connected, so they are making electricity to the entire ship. The hotel, the side of it, of course, the laundry, the galleys, all of it. We have 4 main engines. And together with our emergency generator, which is close to 100,000 horsepower on the Odyssey of the Seas. This is an instrument that says about 7.5. I have no idea what it is, but I can assure you 7.5 is a great number. Down in the laundry, we have a very busy laundry. All the clothes, the linen, towels has to be done down there. We can't send it off. A little bit of money laundering we can do too if necessary down there. Thank you for understanding that's a joke. A trip through the I-95, ladies and gentlemen, the busiest area on board the ship. We have our stores there, provisions, we have offices, medical facility, accommodation for the crew, And here it looks like the photographer got distracted and is following someone instead of. All right. There we go. Where do we end up? All right. We have passed by the crew mess and up to the crew coffee shop all the way in the front. From there we go to the galleys. We have a team of about 200 chefs on board the Odyssey of the Seas that is spoiling us all every day. Food has been good so far this cruise? Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. A view from our production galleys on deck number 3 and 4, the biggest galleys on board. And we also have smaller ones. We have galleys up in the windjammer, specialty restaurants, and in the crew mess. But we have the main galley, the production galley, is on deck 3 and 4. We also, of course, have a medical facility on board. They haven't been too busy this cruise, which is great. Team of 3 doctors, 5 nurses, and a medical secretary is all looking after us. There's a view of the ICU, operating room. And here we have, this is from yesterday's heart transplant. Place down there. Doesn't look like he's getting the best of news. Poor guy. All right. We are still in a medical facility. More traditional surgical equipment we have there. Chief surgeon right there preparing. We are of course in the maintenance department. Maintenance goes on 365 days a year. We don't stop the ship for maintenance. Only every 5 years we take her out of service for more maintenance. And it's not supposed to disturb your vacation, which isn't always an easy task, but I think they're doing a great job at it. We also have our local Walmart, ladies and gentlemen. There's a cruise shop where they can get the most essential stuff. It's not always easy, especially on a day like today, to get to shore and buy whatever you want. So we have chips and deodorants or whatever it is in the cruise shop. This is a crew mess because, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the crew, they eat on board too. And nice healthy meal. We saw the healthy section right there. I have no idea what it is, but it is supposed to be there. Excellent food. I am a living proof of it. And from there we go to the crew gym. You should see me just around the corner. That must have been a different day. All right. There we go. We have a crew gaming room. You see pool table, foosball. We have the crew coffee shop right here. We actually have 4 crew bars on board and coffee shops on board the Odyssey of the Seas. And you can see only Coca-Cola being served. And we take a trip up to the crew deck. This is the smoking area, outdoor area for the crew. They also have a chill out area and sun deck up in front for the crew. So they can get some fresh air and some sun tanning if they wish to do that. That was the back of the house. Now a little bit about passenger ship and company history, here represented by 2 remarkable ships. One was delivered in 1912 that you see in the front, and the other one in 2009. So about 100 years between these 2 ships. Oasis class that we were together with yesterday. And this is what it's going to look like in the next 100 years. Who knows? I will not be around to see it, but who knows what is going to come. Our ships, since the very beginning, we started with the first one in 1970. That was the Song of Norway. We have the Sovereign class, Vision class, Radiance class, Voyager class, Freedom class, Quantum class, and the Oasis class with the Oasis of the Seas that we saw yesterday in Cozumel. We're going to see another one tomorrow in Coco Cay. This is a view of a sales brochure from the 1970s of Song of Norway, and the finest room that you could find in our fleet. And this is that's my room, by the way. I wish. That is the loft suite on an Oasis class, finest accommodation at sea. It's got a piano. If you can afford that room, you can bring your own piano player, no worries at all. So very fine. That has changed a lot during the last 15 years. All right, that was my little presentation. Did you enjoy that? Thank you. And now I'm going to invite my brother from a different mother out on the stage here again, because we are going to hand it over to you. If you have any questions, we have Iona and Marcus. Iona is over here. Where's Marcus? There he is. They're going to run around with the microphone, so if you have any questions, raise your hands, and they're going to get the question from you and present it to us.
Before we start though, I just would like to have to, if you don't mind, I'm not supposed to touch the captain, I forgot, sorry, I'm kidding. All right.
You want to level us out a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to level up right now. 3, 2, 1, and Captain was making fun of me, but guess what? I have power of this venue. Thank you to my production manager, and now I'm taller. Huh. What do you think about that?
Well, the guy that just brought you up is an old friend of mine. So Anthony, can I take him down again, please?
That's a good one. All right, enough of that.
So, of course, if please ask any questions. If it is a very uncomfortable and difficult one, this guy will handle it. All the other ones I will deal with.
I'll make it up.
All right. Anyone?
All right.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen. That was great.
So this only works if you ask questions. We'll start. We have one right there. We'll kick it off. Don't be shy. Can be about the ship.
We got Jim from Cleveland. He wants to know your background, Captain.
Why? And anything that you were not satisfied with? It's been a very good cruise. I found every port so far. It's been very good. All right. I started sailing in 1993. I joined my first ship in 1993. I was 5 years old. And started actually on sail ships. After the sail ships, I figured out I was working on deck there. I was cleaning the deck, setting sails, all of that stuff. And I looked at what the navigator was doing, and I said, I would like to do what that guy is doing. He's just pointing fingers, drinking coffee. That sounds like a nice gig to me. So I was able to combine sailing with my nautical studies. Got my exams from the nautical academies. I joined the Navy. I was on the Norwegian Navy submarines as a navigator, and that's when I decided that I wanted to do something completely different. I needed space and sun and all of that, so I gave you the story during the veterans gathering, some of you were there. And I decided I wanted to try to join Royal Caribbean. That was in 1999. Joined the Rhapsody of the Seas as a second officer. And from there I worked through the ranks on different ships, sailing around the world. Most of the itineraries that we do offer, most of our ships. And I got my first command in 2008, and my permanent ship, the first permanent ship in 2010. So that's a brief story. So in order to become a captain, you need to study, of course. You need to go to nautical academies. You need to get that little driver's license that says big white ships. And from there on, you work your way up. How about you, Mitch?
Well, for a cruise director, if anyone wants to be a cruise director, $49.99 on Amazon, and I have an affiliate link actually on my cruise director page. So, yeah, actually, we worked together, and just before you got promoted in 2007, your last ship, which was on Radiance of the Seas in Alaska, I was also started as cruise director staff, and I worked my way up, and I got to do the takeout of the Oasis in 2009 as activities manager, and then I got promoted as well. So I've also been able to go almost everywhere that Royal Caribbean sails to, and I think one of the best things I'll just mention about the company is that they love promoting from within. So for people that would like to have a career or move up within the company, there's so many amazing opportunities. So it's one of the things I'm pretty proud about as well. So and now I'm here, look at that, there was no one else. So God bless you.
Same here. And then, yeah, the Oasis, you were together, it brings back a lot of memories. We were together during the start of there. I was staff captain. That was my last gig as staff captain, and your last gig before your becoming cruise director, right?
Crazy times.
Yeah, that was crazy times. We could have a whole different session just talking about that startup, couldn't we? Anyway, excellent.
All right, if you didn't notice, we've been killing time, ladies and gentlemen. So, all right, again, any questions about, you can ask us anything, all right? So we're gonna go to the back.
Over here we have Justin from Arizona. He's wondering if, in case of an emergency, in case we hit a storm, how fast can the ship sail away from the storm?
Well, the maximum speed of the ship is around 23.7 knots. That is full speed, putting all the, if it's a little bit downhill, we can make 25, 26. So if it's to get away from a storm, we are looking for those downhills to get speed up. Just kidding. It's normally with today's technology, and everybody with a smartphone had a look at it. You see where the storms are coming. You can predict days in advance. So it's very rare that nowadays we get caught by surprise storms. It does happen. It has happened to me. Just a few years ago, I was on a ship over in Southeast Asia, sailing out of Hong Kong, and we just happened to be exactly where the typhoon was born. So we managed to get away before it was building up, but that was one of those. Normally we see that they are born and then you predict the path, but if you happen to be exactly right there during birth, then you may caught by surprise.
We got Mark here. He's wondering, Celebrity Edge has a different hull design. Is it the Royal is going to implement that maybe or not? Do you know any information about that?
Yes, the hull designs, they keep developing. The one that we have on the Quantum is the newest design on the Quantum class on the Odyssey of the Seas is the newest design for Royal Caribbean. Extremely efficient hull design. Are you talking about that straight bow that they have on the Edge class? It's beautiful, isn't it? I like it. It's a little bit of nostalgia. The old ships were built like that for a reason, I guess. So we'll see. I think maybe on our next class of ships you may see something different. I didn't say anything.
What do you know, Captain?
I didn't say anything.
You said you didn't know anything about it. You won't tell me anything.
So yes, it keeps developing and likely to happen with some changes in Royal Caribbean as well when it comes to hull design. Very good.
We got Dave.
We have Daniel from North Carolina. He would want to know about the retired ship. Why is it that Royal Caribbean retires certain ships? Is it because they have maintenance issue? Is it because they are not competitive enough? What is the reason why some ships are being retired?
That's an excellent question. Ships, they don't really expire. You can change out anything on a ship, the hull, the engines, the safety feature, refurbishment, all of it, and keep going. It is basically when especially for Royal Caribbean's part, when our market you guys, says that the ships don't meet the expectations of a Royal Caribbean ship any longer, then we do phase them out and we sell them to Carnival. Sorry, that is a joke. It is competition, but I gotta make the statement that it's a joke, or otherwise I'll get in trouble. But it is true though. We do not necessarily to Carnival, but we do sell the ships to other companies that can make use for them for more time to come. So that does happen. Very good. What do you think about that?
I agree. I remember being in Hong Kong and seeing one of the oldest, which one?
Sun Viking.
Sun Viking. It's
Sun Viking.
floating. It was a casino ship. That was really cool.
Yes.
Oh, we have a question on top, or an answer, I should say, from Anthony.
So we have Edwin from Florida, and he has a maintenance question. When the smokestack is blowing blue smoke, does that mean that there is a problem with the engine and it needs overhaul?
Yes. That's not
Mitch says yes. The blue smoke is not necessarily a sign that the engine needs overhaul. And then there's more things coming up the stack than just exhaust from our engines. There is a ventilation coming up from there. The incinerators, the smoke from the incinerators is coming up there, but because we are burning at so high temperatures, you shouldn't be seeing much smoke from the incinerator. But sometimes when it starts, when we press the start button, there could be some darker smoke coming up. We have a system called scrubbers nowadays. All the newer ships and even the older ships have been upgraded due to requirements for emission requirements. So the most what you see coming out of the stack there is actually vapor. The exhaust has been cleaned, scrubbed before it is released. So sometimes when other ships are starting up, you may see a little bit of a darker smoke, but then it may, it's not supposed to be black or blue. Did you see blue on this ship? Can you call the chief engineer?
Yeah. Sometimes I thought they put food coloring in there to change to match the sky.
To match the sky.
No?
So yeah, blue. It is supposed to be white, but I haven't had any reports that the engines are not running or the equipment is not working. So maybe a coincidence. Maybe the background. Maybe there was a carnival ship next to us that actually. Yeah.
When in doubt, blame someone else.
All right.
We're gonna go back upstairs again. I got another one.
I have another question. We have Lisa from Indiana, and she wants to know what we did with all of our employees during the COVID pandemic at the very start when we shut down. You remember?
I do remember. And actually Anthony up here, he's a station production manager for this venue. We were together on the last ship and went through all of that. We shut down the ship. There was a Quantum of the Seas. The last guest walked off February 15th in 2020. And after that, well, we didn't know if we were going to start up again. You all remember what it was like back then. We saw that wasn't going to happen at all, and the decision was we got to send the crew members home. We can't sail around with thousands of crew members around the fleet. So the difference with Royal and many of the other companies is that yes, a lot of crew members had to go home and wanted to go home because there wasn't much to do on board the ship. There wasn't much money to be made. They all remained employees of Royal Caribbean International, and as soon as we started to bring the ships back up again, they were all part of the system and could go into rotation again, no need to reapply. In other companies, I'm not going to mention any names, crew members were let go and had to start the rehiring process all over again. So we went down on an entire fleet, we went down to what we call the minimum manning, what you need in order to keep these ships still running from a technical and maintenance point of view, so that we're ready to go back to service. And for this size of ship, that was about 100 crew members, mainly marine, but of course we needed someone to cook and someone to do the laundry and cleaning, and area owners to look after the venues to make sure that it doesn't fall apart while we're out of service. So, but it was down to the bare minimum. God, is great to see that we got everybody back on board the ships and running again.
It's funny because a lot of the times the crew members over the years were like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if it was just us on board for a little bit?
It's nice for a couple of weeks.
Right? You're like, oh, it's nice for a few days, and then you're like, no, this isn't fun.
We got David here. He wants to know, for new ships that come out, how do they choose captains for it?
It's actually, I honestly, I don't know the selection process. I have no idea how I ended up here. It wasn't a good idea, I think. But here we are. We actually are starting, if you go back 15 years and before that, there used to be a new build team. There was a kind of a yard captain, the same guy that was taking over and bringing out most of the new ships. Nowadays it goes on rotation. The company wants everybody to get that experience and start up a new ship. Everybody is qualified to do so. So it goes on rotation. My counterpart, Captain Pierre, he was the one taking the ship out of the yard. I followed afterwards. It was the first time for both of us to be captains on a brand new ship. I'm very happy to get that opportunity. But it's all being looked together, you know, the past experience, time with the company, performance, it's all included in that. But the goal is to have that on a rotation so everybody gets that privilege.
Over here we have, on the back,
On the back.
we have Lynn from New York. This is a question for you, Captain. She's wondering, what is the craziest thing you've experienced or seen on a ship?
All right, here we go.
Do we have a lot of children in the room?
There's none.
There's none. You know, it's hard. The thing, you know, with my job, same with Mitch, we get up in the morning, there's not much routines to what we do on a daily basis. You never know what the day is going to look like, and that's the beauty of this job. So you can't, like right here and now, you know, there's no script to this. So you just ask and we answer as best as we can. It is great. The craziest thing, wow, I wouldn't know what to pick from. We could have written books about all the crazy things that we see around. I do remember though, it was a few years ago, and it's not the craziest thing, but it's a remarkable story. A guy that you know, woke up in the middle of the night, needed to go to the restroom, one of those that sleeps without anything. You know where I'm heading with this, right? So, you know, in the middle of the night, he grabs the wrong door, walks out with the eyes closed and closes the door behind him. No toilet, just the guest corridor. So there he is, locked out of the room without the toilet, and gotta try to figure out how to get back in again. So yeah, it's just it's not crazy at all, but it's one of those funny stories. So make sure you put a little bit of light on. Make sure you grab the right door. They are close to each other, those two doors. Don't do the same mistake. So Mitch, well, you see, you know, he deals with all the fun part on board. You know, I deal with the serious stuff, as you have noticed. And so he does nothing but having fun all the time. You must have seen some, you know, he's there for the old, you know, the Quest shows. How many of you remember the old Quest shows? Yeah. Mitch says he's coming back soon, and he loves that show. Go ahead.
We can't talk about that. What happens, literally what happens at the Quest must stay at the Quest. And I hope that it comes back soon. That's one of the best ones. But yeah, we actually love when we hear these kinds of stories from you. I always say, if you have something funny that happened, we need to know. We really need to know so that we can make fun of you next week when you're gone. Right? That's the best part. I think I don't want to say like that was a pretty funny thing, but one of the most crazy things I think that happened was when, you know, I think maybe a lot of guests have experienced something like a crazy cruise where there is a hurricane and your cruise gets changed around. And I was on that one hurricane, I forget which, 2017 it was, out of Fort Lauderdale on Allure, where we left and then we couldn't get back because they shut down all of the Florida ports. So we couldn't go back into port. So our 7-day cruise turned into a 10-day cruise. Everybody on board loved it. All the people that were coming on the next cruise didn't love it.
Except for the guy that had been planning on buying all the eggs and bananas for that cruise. You know, it was
the trucks showed up and there was no ship.
No ship.
But yeah, but that's the best thing about being on a cruise in those kind. If there's a storm, we just go the other way, find another port.
So there you go. So that was fun for him, and that was a heck of a bad day for the captain. So you see, that's the difference between the two of us.
I didn't say it was fun because we had to make up shows for 3 days.
We got Holly here from Atlanta. She is a pharmacist, and she didn't hear in the medical that we have a pharmacist. Does that mean we don't have any drugs on board?
We were in Mexico for 2 days. Come on. Sorry, it just came out.
That's why we have a cruise director, because I can't say stuff like that. Anyway, so yes, we do have an amazing drugstore on board. It's administered by our doctors and nurses, and God knows why, but I also have a key to it. So we have enough to keep everybody happy. Yeah, we're good for a while.
Over here we have Trevor from Florida. He wants to know about the engines. So now the engines are electric, and is it better for the marine life? Are they quieter? Are they more environmental, sustainable, eco-friendly?
Yes, they are. They are. As long as we have 4 diesel engines, our AC pods are electric motors. So our motors, so to speak, the electric motors are propulsion motors, and then you have the diesel engines driving the generators, creating the electricity for the ship. So the AC pods are placed there for fuel efficiency, which is of course serving 2 purposes. One is to reduce the fuel for the environment. This is also more cost beneficial for the company. So those 2 things go hand in hand. We have state-of-the-art engines, which means that they are far more efficient, they're far more environmentally friendly than older engines. And going forward, most cruise lines are already heading in the direction of LNG instead of diesel engines. So LNG powered ships, which is again way more environmentally friendly. So that is the development going on. But if you combine the performance of an old diesel engine and the new ones that we have on board, it is a remarkable difference.
We got Dave here. He wants to know if you know by any chance, like time frame when the behind of the scenes is gonna come back.
Not yet, not yet. We did have an update recently where we did relax a lot of the protocols, which meant we got to take off the masks and the distancing, and there's some things like the backstage tour, very close contact activities such as the Quest are still on pause, but we did get pool activities back. So it's kind of like a phased approach, and I think they're just kind of watching to see what happens. But we hope the next one that will be back, but no exact date.
What we have learned so far is during the pandemic is that it's very difficult to plan ahead. We've got to kind of look at the current situation and adjust our protocols accordingly. It's a very dynamic situation, so it's hard to say that it's going to come on the 15th of April. It may be next week, it may be later on in the summer, depending on how safe we feel it would be to do so. We have, of course, our experts shoreside that is setting fleet standards. They are talking to CDC and making sure that we have the best possible standards to keep everybody safe. So we are looking forward to soon being able to offer those tours again, but it's very hard to say exactly when. They are great, yes.
On the starboard side, we have another Lisa, also from New York, and she would like to know if there are any systems to monitor the marine life underneath the ship. There's like radars that will show you whether there's a whale approaching, dolphins, or anything like that.
Yeah, Mitch, that's yours again.
Well, I heard that the next ship's gonna have a glass bottom. So I have binoculars. That's what I look for when I have to look for whales. I don't know. I would say no, but we do have the lookout, right?
We have the lookout, but no, we don't have any sonars, anything. Since we're not involved with fancy sonars is mostly for Navy vessels and fishing vessels and so on. We're not necessarily looking too much at what's under when it comes to marine life. We do have, we don't have any instruments to actually spot anything and see what's under. But back to Mitch's point, the best thing to spot marine life and make sure that we do not do any harm, especially to whales, is the guy with the binoculars. So that's his part of his job is to make sure we don't hit any whales. But below we have echo sounder, so we know how deep it is, and that's the main interest for navigation. But no other equipment to see marine life. What's under.
Most of the marine life hears us coming, and they get away. So right, they're
right here on board side. So Axel from Puerto Rico, he wants to know what is the function of the pilot in the little boat that comes to us. Why does the pilot have to come? What's his?
That's a great question. We get that quite often.
I know that one.
You go ahead.
That's sometimes we run out of beer, and he has to bring a couple extra cases. I needed just to say that. I was like, I don't know. I haven't even had coffee this morning. Maybe that's
nobody can notice. All right, so let's get serious here. It's a great question. So the pilot in most ports around the world we do take a pilot. Tomorrow in Coco Cay we don't, because that's our port. We build it, it's ours. There is no pilot in Coco Cay, but we know where it is, so we'll make our way in. But most ports around the world we do take pilots. It's a requirement from the ports that we take a pilot on board. It is not. It used to be the guy that knows how to get safely into the harbor. That was the old function of the pilot, and in many cases it still is. But we have been around in these ports for decades. We have the equipment, so getting safely alongside, just from a navigational point of view, isn't the main task. But a pilot comes on, especially in US ports, they are active part of the bridge team. He comes on board, we have a little brief, talk about weather, wind, currents, traffic, and then pilot in the US ports, he assumes what is called the con of the ship. So he gives orders to the helmsman. The ship is still under my command. If I don't like what the pilot is doing, I can override the pilot. I better have a very good reason to do so. And once we get closer to the pier, approaching the pier, the pilot hands the con or the conduct of the vessel back to myself and my team, and we do the actual docking of the ship, because then you need to, all the ships are very different and the pilot can't be an expert on all the different ships. That is our expertise, and we take over from there. So that is, the great thing with the pilot is that, you know, I have command of this ship. But when we're going in and out of the ports, there's often a lot of traffic. The pilot has the authority to redirect the other ships so we have a clear passage. And that is an extremely important function. There's also to make sure all the proper reporting is done to the port, that we don't miss anything, and the local expert. So he's considered an advisor to the captain. Excellent question.
I didn't know. I was actually always wanted to know when you say the con of the ship. I always wanted to ask, but I didn't want to look stupid. I thought it was control, and it's the conduct.
It's written with two N's.
Huh.
Con, C-O-N-N.
Okay.
That's a fun fact for you.
There you go. I learned something else.
There you go.
All right. I think we have a. Oh, sorry.
And then you have in some ports, as you may have noticed, that the pilot comes on board and hardly has the time to make it up to the bridge before we are alongside. So there's every port that operates differently, every country operates differently when it comes to that.
Does that mean they come just for the coffee because it's so good up on the bridge?
It is very good. They need to get the signature and the stamp, and then off we go.
The local ride. Okay, very nice. I think we're gonna go back up top.
Up on the balcony we have Eric from Connecticut, and he has a very good one. What do we
Eric,
do?
where are you? Where's Eric? There's Eric.
He would like to know what we do in a man overboard situation.
Okay, and he's
Who are you
filming-
traveling with up there?
And he's filming us. Oh my goodness.
What do we do? Well, first of all, we like to know that it has happened. I do think, you know, if you don't like the cruise, just talk to us. That's the recommended course of action, of course. If we hear that there is a man overboard, we got to change that. It's 2022. It should be person overboard, right? Yeah, it should be person overboard. Anyway, so we make an attempt to stop, and we lower the boat. It doesn't take. Well, the time it takes depends on who it is. So, but it goes pretty quickly if we know it right there and then. If it goes back in time, which also have happened that we don't know until it's actually far too late, then we still start a search and rescue. Of course, we notify shoreside operations, whatever territorial waters we are in, and a search and rescue starts. I notify other ships so they can be on the lookout. But I recommend everybody to stick to plan A. It's a very good plan. Stay on board.
Exactly.
Over here on the starboard side, we have Rochelle from Iowa. She's curious about the crew rotation on ships, if what the crew stays on the ship for a whole contract, how long the contract, and if they rotate on the basis of what.
It all depends on how hard you work. So some has a very much longer contracts than others. But go ahead, Mitch. You can elaborate on that.
Yeah, well, it all depends, of course, on your ranking on the position that you do on board, and it can vary greatly. So some people, I'm not going to mention who, have really good agents, I guess, or contract negotiators, and they have very short contracts because they say they work harder than anyone else. I'm kidding, but we'll let the captain mention it. But most hotel officers will do 16 weeks on, so 4 months on, and then typically 8 weeks off. And then the crew will typically start it off around 6 months, and it can be anywhere between 6 months and 3 weeks. So just under 7 months, and then same thing, around 8 weeks off vacation. A lot of the crew will do 8 months, and then a lot of them like to extend up to 10 months, which is pretty much the limit that we try to have the crew working towards. Now, when it comes to entertainment, we do have a lot of our cast members that will be doing a 1-year contract. That's the absolute maximum they can do. It doesn't happen all the time, and most of the time it's for the big Broadway shows. And that's because of the reason that it's one, because it takes a long time to cast those specific roles, and two, you're competing with land-based shows or a touring show, which will also do like a 1-year show contract, and we give them the same contract here. So it can vary differently depending on the positions, and then of course, captain does of course have the most stretch, so he has to have the shortest contract. Is that good, sir?
Do I look stressed?
I'm just trying to not get in trouble.
No, look, to be honest, I'm not often very stressed, and being on a ship like the Odyssey, a brand new ship, is fantastic, but it's always about the people that you work with, right? And the team that I have on board with me here on the Odyssey is the best you could ever ask for. They're all highly professional in all areas. Round of applause for the crew, please. Let's hear it for the crew. We can brag about what we are doing all day long, but the ones that are making it happen all over the ship is our hardworking crew members. So let's be honest and clear about that, Vijay.
Oh yeah, Captain. No, I get more stressed than you. Jeez.
I know you do. You got to deal with a loud and angry captain. I understand it. It's hard at times.
All right, very good. Do we have any more? We do.
We have one more question from Mary from Alabama. She would like to know if, because we're building bigger and more grandeur ships every year, are we gonna downsize on building ships? Are we gonna build smaller ships as well?
So you mean for building ships that Mitch would fit in? Is that? Oh, sorry, Mitch. Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
I fit for fine. I actually have lots of space on these ships. I'm happy. The bed is very comfortable.
Yes. No, we are not planning to build smaller ships. And it has to do with as a company, we go for the same market. We don't, we want the bigger ships. This is what the market is asking for. Even though I know many of our guests are enjoying the smaller ships that we have. I do myself. I love our Radiance class, for instance. Fantastic. Oh, someone else does. Wonderful. I love that class. But the future is not going down to that size. We do have other companies, sister companies that are looking more after that smaller size market. The next class of ship, though, isn't going to be as big as the Oasis class, but bigger than this one. So we're still in the same kind of range of ships. You're welcome.
Here on the port side, right here down there, we got Seth from New York. He wants to know what is the current capacity of guests that we have on Odyssey, and when do we plan to go to 100%?
Next week. No, we want to get back up to the 100% and then some, because it's we need the ships to be filled. We need them to be lively and all venues filled. We want that for the ships. But we are right now, this cruise, we are close to 80% capacity of what we consider 100% is double occupancy, which is about 4,200 guests. Our max capacity is 5,500. That is with the third and fourth bed filled. We otherwise have a lot of children on board. So that's a max capacity. But when we count the percentages of the double occupancy, so we are getting there. We're actually the ship with the highest load factor this month of entire Royal Caribbean. So we're very proud of that. Glad that people come to experience the Odyssey of the Seas.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
We have one more.
I could stay here
We
all
can-
day.
yeah,
I
yeah,
have nothing else to do. Yes, Steve.
He literally doesn't.
You have anything else to do?
I am going to host a belly flop competition in a little bit.
Are you going to do belly flop?
I'm going to host a belly flop.
Are you going to do belly
What are you
flop?
trying to say, Captain? I am filling
I
out
would
my-
love to see. It would be. You know,
What, you think that's all I can make? I'm just going to bounce off the water? That's all you think?
I'm going to get my HR on the back after this.
We're filming this, by the way. I'm going to put it on TV after this, Channel 1, and you can watch all these jokes again. And then you can... Gotcha.
We got Steve from Florida here. He wants to know the micro bubbles. Are they gonna build the micro bubbles in any other ships? Like
As far as I know, yes. We're talking about the air lubrication system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are actually floating on bubbles right now. We have a compressor that is pumping air through very small holes on the very bottom of the ship. The holes are supposed to be there, and it's creating like a flow, a bed of tiny air bubbles that reduces the friction for the hull of the ship for fuel efficiency. So we have been installing that system on all ships since Quantum of the Seas in 2014. And then we will see if the future hull designs support the same type of bubble beds floating on bubbles or not. I'm not sure if the Icon class will have it. We will see.
Okay, but what happens if the compressor turns off? Is it like a strainer where the water just comes up?
I hope not. If it does, I'll call you.
Yeah, that's okay.
right here, Portside, one more.
One more.
We got Eddie with a new technology that's implemented on ships and everything. Can the ship dock itself, like automatic, like planes and they have? And if they can, what happened to MSC?
Isn't this great when even the guests start joking about competition? I think that is amazing. Thank you for that. Yes, of course, the technology is there. Technology is there to do even the docking of the ship. That is still. We have the technology here to do that as well, but it's still far more efficient and faster to do that manual, and we still consider it safer to do that manually. So, but the technology is there. I have a joystick up on the bridge which I can use just like a video game and move the ship in any direction and twist and turn. But we still, at least on this size of ship, think it's better to do that manually. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Can I just say, I think these were some great questions today, everybody.
Yes,
so we started off without Eddie, but you did a great job. So thank you for all those questions. And I would like to say a big thank you to the captain here, Captain Sindra, for coming up today.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the beautiful day. We'll see you all around. Thank you.